After studying this module, you shall be able to know about the general concept of water pollution, learn various organic water pollutant, learn about oxygen demanding waste, plant nutrient and pesticide, process of eutrophication and its impact. Water, representing the medium of life on earth and one of the four ancient elements, is a summarizing and general term for which no exact scientific definition can be given. Water, so essential for life, is said to be polluted when it contains excess of unwanted chemical substances and harmful microorganisms which cause degradation of its quality. The term water pollution is referred to the addition to water of an excess of material that is harmful to humans, animals, or desirable aquatic life, or otherwise causes significant departure from the normal activities of living communities in or near water bodies. The National Water Commission stated that water gets polluted if it has been not of sufficiently high quality to be suitable for the highest uses people wish to make of it at present or in the future. Water pollution is a major problem and is mostly caused due to anthropogenic activities. Besides this, natural phenomenon like volcanic eruptions also causes major changes in the quality of water. Water pollution and water scarcity are the two major global crises of modern times. Scientists believe that water pollution is the leading cause of most of deaths and diseases, and it accounts for the death of more than 14,000 people daily. Water pollution is a problem faced by both developed and developing countries. Although the importance of water is clearly understood, humans still pollute rivers, lakes, and oceans. Pollution from various sectors, including agricultural, industrial, greatly affects the quality of water, making it undrinkable and sometimes even harmful for recreational purposes. The water pollutant enter into the water bodies from point or non-point sources. Point sources are distinct and specific. For example, sewage from the specific industry, domestic sewage, etc. Since these sources are indefinable, they can easily be monitored, whereas the non-point sources are scattered and depend on certain natural and artificial factors. For example, surface runoff like river, runoff from road, streets, etc. Classification of water pollutant. Number 1, organic water pollutant. Number 2, inorganic water pollutant. Number 3, pollution due to industrialization. Number 4, radioactive pollution. Number 5, thermal. These all pollutants will be discussed in detail in this module. First, organic water pollutant. Organic substances are materials made from carbon such as plants and animals. All living organisms from the largest tree to the smallest insects are organic. The food we eat and all material that are living or were once living such as fallen timber, decaying vegetation and petroleum products are organic substances. Most organic carbon material occur naturally, others are synthesized in the laboratory. Many municipal, agricultural and industrial waste that are responsible for causing water pollution are organic. For instance, human waste, animal waste and food processing waste all consist primarily of organic materials. Water quality professionals have developed special tests to measure the amount of organic material in water sample. Some of the important organic pollutants along with their sources of origin listed in the table which is shown here. Now I will explain you pollutant, their examples and the sources. Proteins like you have known gelatin, keratin, casein, etc. What are the sources for these? Food processing industry, cannery waste, household waste, tannery waste, etc. Fats like glycerol palmitate, glycerol acetate, etc. The sources are fat refining, wool scoring waste and edible oil waste. Carbohydrates you all know like starch and cellulose. The sources are paper and pulp industry and textile industries, etc. Resins like amber resin, they are produced from plant manufacturing industry, paint manufacturing industry, textile industry and lacquer industry. Soap consists of sodium palmitate and potassium stearate produced from laundry industry and textile waste, laundry waste, etc. Detergents which consist of sodium lauryl sulfate, polyglycol ether, etc. and the sources for these are again laundry waste and textile waste. Dyes like magenta, fluorescein, etc. They are produced from dyeing and drinking textile, paper and leather, etc. Then there are agrochemicals like DDT, 2,4-D. They are produced from the agricultural runoff. Now the figure here explains you various types of the organic pollutant. Synthetic organic chemicals like fertilizers, pesticides, then you have disease causing agents which are pathogenic, oxygen demanding waste like the sludge and plant nutrient and oil. All these are of the organic in nature and are classified under organic pollutant. We will study each of them in detail. First, oxygen demanding waste. This pollutant decrease the amount of dissolved oxygen of the water body. The wastewater such as domestic and municipal sewage, wastewater from food processing industries, canning industry, slaughterhouses, paper and pulp mills, tanneries, beverage, distilleries, etc. have considerable concentration of biodegradable organic compounds either in suspended, colloidal or dissolved form. These wastes undergo degradation and decomposition by bacterial activity. The dissolved oxygen available in water body will be consumed for aerobic oxidation of organic matter present in the wastewater. Hence, depletion of DO will be a serious problem and adversely affect aquatic life. The decrease of DO is an index of water pollution. As oxygen demanding waste rapidly deplete the DO of water, it has been found to be a good parameter for estimation of amount of such pollutant in a given water body. The biochemical oxygen demand, which is BOD of water, has been related to the amount of organic waste present in water. BOD is experimentally determined by incubating a sample of water for 5 days at 293 Kelvin. The amount of oxygen consumed can be determined by chemical determination of DO concentration of water before and after incubation. The table shown here correlate you the extent of water pollution with the BOD values. Now you will see how the BOD and DO values gives the index of water pollution. All these values are in milligram per liter, which is equivalent to ppm. So if the dissolved oxygen value is greater than or equal to 6.5 and BOD value is less than 3, then the water is said to be non-polluted or very slightly polluted. If DO values falls from 6.5 and it is above 4.6, simultaneously BOD value is greater than 3 or less than 4.9, then the water is said to be lightly polluted. For moderately polluted water, DO values falls 4.5 and it is above 2, and BOD value now become bigger than 5 and less than 15. And for the severely polluted water, which is very polluted, the DO value becomes less than 2 and the BOD value is greater than 15. So by the DO and BOD value, you will have now idea about the extent of water pollution. If the amount of organic pollutant is less and dilution by well oxygenated water is high, the aerobic bacteria are able to break down the organic matter completely. When high amount of organic load is discharged into the water body, then dissolved oxygen is rapidly exhausted. Under these conditions, putrefaction results, aquatic life perishes and aerobic bacteria also die. The component of organic waste is then decomposed by different chemical reactions and by a new set of microorganisms called anaerobic bacteria. These bacteria thrive in the absence of oxygen. They extract oxygen from oxygen containing compounds like sulfates, nitrates and oxides, etc., and oxidize the organic matter to harmless end products. During the time period that the anaerobic bacteria are acting upon the organic load, sufficient oxygen becomes dissolved in water again and aerobic condition returns. Like here, you can see it shows decomposition of organic waste. What happens in aerobic condition? Carbon changes to carbon dioxide, nitrogen to ammonia, hydrogen to water and sulfur to sulfuric acid, phosphorus to phosphoric acid. And in anaerobic condition, that is without oxygen, carbon changes to methane and organic acid, nitrogen convert into organic amines, sulfur converted to the hydrogen sulfide and organic sulfur compound, phosphorus converted into phosphine and other organic phosphorus compound. Next is synthetic organic chemicals. Organic chemicals include both natural and synthetic chemicals used in the chemical industries. Some examples are soap, detergent, various industrial waste, polychlorinated biphenyls and other synthetic chemicals. Most of these chemicals are highly toxic and even exposure to very low concentration can cause birth defects, genetic disorders and death. These compounds, in contrast to the organic waste, are not biodegradable and may persist for longer periods. Some of the synthetic organic chemicals are discussed here. Number 1. Soaps and detergents. Soaps are the sodium or potassium salt of fatty acids and are prepared by the saponification of fats and oils. Synthetic detergents, also called syndates, were developed as soap substitute, and a common class of detergent is alkyl benzene sulfonates. Both soap and detergents have a large hydrophobic tail and a hydrophilic head. The hydrophobic part in soap are the fatty acid chains and in detergents the alkyl benzene group, while the carboxylate unit in the former and the sulfonate group in the later are the hydrophilic part. You can see the chemical structure of soap and detergent shown here in the figure. The cleaning action of soap results largely from its emulsifying power caused by the dual nature of soap anion. In the presence of oils, fats and other water insoluble organic material, the tail of the anion tend to dissolve into the organic matter, whereas the carboxyl head remain in aqueous solution. Thus, the soap emulsifies or suspends organic material in water. All sodium and potassium salts of soap are soluble in water. Synthetic detergents have good cleaning properties and they do not form insoluble salt with calcium and magnesium ions, which are responsible for hardness. The detergents are composed of 20 to 30% of surface active agents. As soon as soap comes in contact with sewage or enters an aquatic system, it generally precipitates as calcium and magnesium salt, and these are acted upon by microorganisms in presence of oxygen dissolved in water and are completely broken down into harmless inorganic compounds like carbon dioxide, water, carbonates and bicarbonates. Therefore, these are environmental friendly products and 100% biodegradable. The soap does not cause any substantial water pollution. The major disadvantage of soap is that they form insoluble precipitates with the ions causing hardness, that is, they do not function in hard water. You can see here the chemical structure of soap and detergent. Soap, which consists of the straight alkyl chain and carboxylate group, while the detergents, they can be linear detergent. Here you have the linear alkyl chain, or you can have the branched detergent. Here you have the ethyl group branching, but here we have all the straight chain structure. So it could be linear chain detergent or can be branched chain detergent. A wide variety of detergent are accepted as the substitute for soap. They can function in hard as well as in acidic water. Detergent, however, are not completely biodegradable and persist into the water bodies and cause water pollution. It has been found that detergents having a branched chain hydrophobic group are less biodegradable than those having a linear carbon chain. In branched chain alkyl sulfonate, the benzene ring are attached principally to tertiary carbon of the branched chain groups, and these are only 50 to 60% biodegradable because the microbes first crump the branched chain and after that they decompose the main chain. On the other hand, the linear alkyl chain sulfonates are 90 to 95% biodegradable. After that, the next classification is pesticides. Pesticides are generally chemicals, biological agents, antimicrobials or disinfectant. They are designed to repel, control, attract and then terminate pests. They are commonly but not always made to kill or poison their target. There are three main groups of synthetic organic insecticides. These are organochlorines, which you also called organic chlorinated hydrocarbons, organophosphates and carbamates. In addition, a number of herbicides including chlorophenoxy compounds 2,4,5-T, which is trichlorophenoxy acetic acid, which contains the impurity dioxin, which is one of the most potent toxin known, and 2,4-D, which is dichlorophenoxy acetic acid, are common water pollutant. The most well-known organochlorine pesticide is DDT, which is dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane, which has been widely used to control insects that carry such disease like malaria, typhus and plague. By contributing to the control of these diseases, DDT is credited with saving literally millions of lives worldwide. These chemicals can enter and contaminate water through direct application, runoff and atmospheric deposition. They are poisonous to fish and wildlife, contaminate food sources and destroy the habitat that animals use for protective cover. Insecticide tends to concentrate in the fatty tissue of various organisms. These slow poisoning effects, even if they are relatively non-toxic. These substances undergo bioamplification, that is, their concentration progressively increases at each tropic level in the food chain. These pesticides are non-biodegradable and have long persistence in the environment, and therefore they reach human through drinking water. Explains you fate of pesticides, that is, how the pesticides enter into the different water bodies and finally to the human. Human toxic responses to the major group of pesticides. First, naturally occurring organics like parathyroids, nicotine, alkaloids, etc. What are the effects that they cause? That is, the rodenticides and parathyroids have usually low toxicity, but they can cause kidney and respiratory effects in severe cases. Nicotine compounds are highly toxic with convulsions, cardiac irregularity and coma in several cases. After that, chlorinated hydrocarbon. The effect that they cause are low to moderate acute toxicity, affect mostly central nervous system, tremors and incoordination in several cases, liquid buildup. Aldrin and dialdrin show central nervous system disturbance and parasympathetic failure. Other effects include liver damage and gonadal and endocrine effects. After that, organophosphates, which are extremely toxic. They are absorbed through all routes of entry. Symptoms include parasympathetic failure, diarrhea, vomiting, etc. Carbamates, which are normal dimethyl carbamates, and they are strong inhibitor of choline esterase. Mercurals, organic mercury, particularly alkyl mercury, is more toxic than inorganic mercury stored in living tissue as methyl mercury. Central nervous system symptoms appear first, followed by muscular atrophy and mental exposure. Herbicide, acute toxicity to man is low. Chlorophenoxy compounds like 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T produce a mild irritation on exposed areas. Gastrointestinal effects when taken internally. Rodenticide. Common rodenticides are not chemically related, therefore have no common symptoms. Sodium fluoroacetate is extremely toxic and disturbs citric acid metabolism with resulting cardiac depression, fibrillation and peripheral nervous system effects. Cyanide is extremely toxic, producing respiratory system failure. Organophosphate, extremely toxic, absorbed through all routes of entry. Symptoms include parasympathetic failure, diarrhea and vomiting, tremor and muscle seizures, mental aberration in chronic exposure due to suppression of choline esterase, usually hazardous on direct exposure. Parathione converts in fields to pyroxone, which is even more toxic. Glutathione and malathione, least toxic of all. After this, you will study about the pathogens. Pathogens are disease-causing microorganisms such as bacteria and viruses which come from the fecal waste of human and animals. Exposure to pathogen either from direct contact with water or through ingestion of contaminated raw shellfish can cause variety of illness. Because of this, beaches and shellfish beds are closed to the public when testing and reveals significant pathogen levels. Pathogen wash off the land from wild animals, farm animals and pet waste, and can also enter over waterways from improperly functioning septic tanks, leaky sewer lines and boat sanitary disposal system. Now you all aware of various human diseases which are transmitted by polluted water. You all know cholera, dysentery, typhoid, infectious hepatitis, polio, etc., which are caused by these pathogenic bacteria, viruses or protozoa. Next water pollutant is plant nutrient. Nutrients are chemical elements that all living organisms, plants and animals need to grow. The most important plant nutrients are nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. When too much nitrogen and phosphorus enter the environment, usually from a wide range of human activities, then the air and water can become polluted. The primary source of nutrient pollution are runoff of fertilizers, animal manure, sewage treatment, plant discharges, storm water runoff, car and power plant emission and falling septic tank. Nutrient can lead to a massive overgrowth of algae known as algal bloom. Excess algal growth is not desired because it decreases the dissolved oxygen of the water. The enrichment of water with nutrient is a naturally occurring biological process called eutrophication. This leads to other slow processes collectively referred to as natural aging of lakes. Eutrophication is the enrichment of surface water with plant nutrient. While eutrophication occurs naturally, it is normally associated with anthropogenic sources of nutrient. The symptoms and impact of eutrophication are increase in production and biomass of phytoplankton, attached algae and macrophytes, shift in habitat characteristic due to change in assemblage of aquatic plants, replacement of desirable fish by less desirable species, production of toxin by certain algae, increasing operating expenses of public water supplies including taste and odor problems, especially during periods of algal blooms, deoxygenation of water, especially after collapse of algal blooms, usually resulting in fish kills, infilling and clogging of irrigation canals with aquatic weeds, loss of recreational use of water due to slime, weed infestation, noxious odor from decaying algae, impediments to navigation due to dense weed growth, economic loss due to change in fish species, fish kill, etc. Eutrophication by excessive plant nutrient like nitrogen and phosphorus, there occur rapid growth of the aquatic animals, and after some time these aquatic animals consume most of the dissolved oxygen of the water. They grow in size, they become bigger and they multiply, which is called algal bloom, and after some time they will die and this will accumulate most of the organic material at the bottom of the sea. For the decomposition of that material, the dissolved oxygen of the water undergo depletion, and at a stage the dissolved oxygen becomes very less, so the microorganisms and the aquatic animals cannot survive in such a low amount of oxygen, and after some time the aging of that water body occurs by this process of eutrophication. Excess nitrogen is a common drinking water contaminant in agricultural areas and can pose particular risk to infants younger than 6 months. Chemicals used to treat nutrient polluted drinking water pose additional risk to human health. These chemicals, including chlorine, can react with the algae in the water to form disinfection byproducts that have been associated with reproductive and developmental health problems. Now we will summarize what we have studied in this module. Water pollution is one of the most widespread, costly and challenging environmental problem. Water pollution is a large set of adverse effects upon water bodies caused by human activities. Some common sources of water pollution are: number 1, industrial discharge of chemical waste and byproducts; number 2, discharge of poorly treated or untreated sewage; number 3, surface runoff containing pesticide and spilled petroleum product; number 4, surface runoff from construction sites, farms or paved and other impervious surfaces, for example silt; number 5, excess nutrient added by runoff containing detergent or fertilizer, etc. Some of the organic water pollutant are pathogen, oxygen demanding waste like sludge, fertilizer, pesticides and plant nutrient. The amount of dissolved oxygen in a water body give an idea of extent of pollution. Soap, detergent and various industrial waste, polychlorinated biphenyls and other synthetic chemicals are highly toxic, and even exposure to very low concentration can cause birth defects, genetic disorders and death. These compounds, in contrast to the organic waste, are not biodegradable and may persist for long periods. There are three main groups of organic insecticides: organochlorine, also known as chlorinated hydrocarbon, organophosphates and carbamates. These chemicals can enter and contaminate water through direct application, runoff and atmospheric deposition. These substances undergo bioamplification and are non-biodegradable and have long persistence in the environment, and therefore they reach human through drinking water. Excess of plant nutrient cause eutrophication, which depletes the dissolved oxygen of the water body and disturbs the entire water.